just while this is up, I just will mention, I'm sort of going to do two parts to this short presentation. First part, factual, just tell you where we're at, what we've done so far, and what we have now. The second part is where I want to focus is, what's happening in the next 6 months. So there will be quite a few forward-looking statements as I try and guide on what we want to do. So just, take that with the caution that it should have. So TriStar, what are we? This is where we're at right now. We have, valued at about 90 million Canadian. We've got about just under 14 million Canadian in the bank right now. Really good retail, really good institutions holding us. I think US Global are our largest shareholder, Gold 2000, a few other groups like that. So we've got good institutions and some nice analyst coverage from Brock and Don at Cormark and Paradigm. Rest of that sort of factual, and as I said, I'm going to skip through this fairly quickly so I can get on to talking about what's going to be happening, which is the more exciting stuff, but this is all available on the website if anybody wants to look at it. The project, CASTELO de SONHOS, it's sort of almost the geometric center of Brazil. Current resources stand at 1.3 million ounces of inferred and 700,000 ounces of indicated. And as you can sort of see from the little sketch on the right-hand side there, these resources have been growing really, really nicely over the last 3 or 4 years. And there's still a lot more to find and a lot more to do. But once we got to that, can't do the adding, you can't add 1.3 and 0.7, but we got to that number, we decided to stop and do a PEA just to show that, as Gwen alluded to, that there are more risks than just geology, that we could put some economics onto this in a PEA, look at the risks, look at the infrastructure and see what works. So at that point in late 2018, we published a PEA on this. Results came out, I think exceptional is fair to say, for conceptual economics at $1,250 gold, which is, and it's not on this slide, but also at an exchange rate of 3.8 to 1 with the Brazilian real. That exchange rate is running at about 5.3 now, so has moved quite strongly in our favor. But we focused this PEA on one aspect, one corner of the project that we just call Esperanza South. It produced just over 1 million ounces. That's again $1,250 gold, but post-tax IRR 43%, under 200 million capex, and and some of the reasons for those really good numbers are the fact that it's, even though it's central Brazil, which can be, say, infrastructure challenged maybe, but we're right next to a highway. We're right next to a power line. We're about 20 kilometers away from a town of 8,000 people who are miners, loggers, farmers, primary industry people who understand mining and are not concerned about having a mine 20 kilometers down the road. So there's a lot of good things that go with you, as well as the pure economics on the project there. So that's what we have. We've got, as I said, 2 million ounces in the ground. We've got a PEA with strong results. On the back of that PEA, Royal Gold got interested in us, and they acquired a 1.5% NSR for $8 million US. And that kicked us up on our pre-feasibility study drilling. The decision was to move Esperanza South, upgrade that PEA to a pre-feasibility study. That pre-feasibility study is getting very close to completed now. It would have been completed by November if it hadn't been for COVID, but we've had this slip now into early next year. So we're just finishing that resource drilling. In addition to this, we've also raised money this year for new exploration drilling on top of the pre-feasibility study outside of that area, to evaluate the rest of the plateau, because it's a large area, a large land package, and Esperanza South, which we've got the pre-feasibility study area, is really only one small part of that. So that exploration, which I will get on to talking in more detail, is starting up now as well. We're just waiting on 2 drill rigs to arrive on site. And between those 3 events that are all immediate now and coming due over the next few months, should be very good news flow over the next 6 months here. So now I will try and get into a little bit more detail on some of those items. So the pre-feasibility study. So this is the immediate value, the solid part of the project. But this, as you can see by the dots on the map there, it's very well drilled. Most of it's on a 50 by 50 grid drilling now, only down to about 100, 120 meters. It's still very shallow. We're still just scratching the surface. But you can see that 20,000 meters of infill. I think we've drilled about 19,000 of it. We've got about 1,000 meters of infill to go. As part of the pre-feasibility study, or in parallel to it, we are doing the social baseline work, the environmental studies. As part of that, just last week, we flew LiDAR across the whole plateau, our whole land package and the adjacent town and all the infrastructure. So that's all going to lead into the permitting that we need to do. And an interesting part from, I think, from an investment perspective now is that, as I said, we've completed around about 19,000 meters of that drilling. Results are in for all of that drilling, and I think it's fair to say the results were good, as expected or better. They're all available on our website. We have spreadsheets there showing all significant intersections. All the sections are there. Simple, just plain, just giving all the data out, and it's all available on the website should someone want it. We think this is going to be a fairly decent sized project, so we wanted good consultants. So we've got CSA Global, or an international consultant, leading the work, and Peter and Associates doing the hydrology and geotech, both supported by local engineers in groups from Brazil, which I think is important working in any country, that you have some very good people in country who know how that country works. So on top of it, on this map here, you can see where Esperanza South is. You can see the PEA pits on there, which is what are being drilled out to indicated or the higher category right now. The yellow, orange, and red color is the golden soil anomalies, where we also have conglomerate outcropping. So all of that is surface targets for us. But on top of that, we have new conglomerate targets, which have been drawn on in the ellipses, which have been generated by some really interesting artificial intelligence work that we were doing during this downtime. Re-looked at all of our data, and it was a real lesson for me to see how the artificial intelligence works, and quite amazing, to tell the truth. Where we've been recently is we've been getting all the results from that work and just dying to get our geologists back on the ground, which happened about 2 weeks ago, to see if on the ground it is what the computers were telling us, and it's coming up that way. So, we've got these drill rigs arriving in the next few weeks. They will be hitting the known soil anomaly areas, which have got some drilling in them, but not enough to add, to find significant resources, but also additional areas which haven't got soil lines on, but the AI work has identified conglomerate at or near surface. And as you can see, it's not highlighted yet, but one of the most exciting targets for me, as far as a near-term, lower risk, a very quick add-on, is the blue ellipse just at the top of the Esperanza South PEA pits, linking it to Esperanza East. That's a very shallow target. It will tie a whole lot of areas together. It looks small, but that's over 2 kilometers long. So, it doesn't take long to add on resources. So that drilling will be taking place from now, realistically, for the next foreseeable future. The other part of our exploration upside, which we want to focus on, is what's shown on here as CDS deeps. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about this on the next slide, but CDS deeps is, as a paleoplacer deposit, the gold was deposited within conglomerate horizons, much as it was at Tarkwa and Jacobina, and if you're studying the mines in South Africa. But at Tarkwa, I know there are locations where that gold that was deposited in the conglomerate is then remobilized again by intrusions and younger rocks. We've got younger granites intruding underneath the plateau here, which we see outcropping. We've hit a little bit in drilling, and we see that they reconcentrate the gold into different horizons. This is sort of an exciting target for us because it's something that's buried. It's the scale there. You can see the plateau is about 8 kilometers across, and conglomerate is all the way underneath it, and the whole lot is cut by granite. So the scale of the CDS deeps target is sort of unknown to us, but the upside scale is quite huge. So we'll be testing that as well. I will just get on to the next slide. This is sort of what the plateau looks like. As you can see, it's a bowl shape. Here we've drawn it in a conservative manner because we don't know how deep the granite is at the base. But we are now finding points where it's getting very shallow, and that theory will be tested as to the remobilized gold outside of the conglomerate. And that will then be, you know, as I said earlier, in addition to the surface open pit mineral that we already have identified that is in our pre-feasibility study now, and which we'll be stepping out and drilling to as well. So just as a quick recap then, you know, it's a large land package, just under 20,000 hectares that we control. We've got currently, well, actually, currently that is old now. We have 19 kilometers of outcrop with conglomerate, with gold in the conglomerates. I'd say that number is growing. It's just like Tarkwa and Jacobina geologically and age-wise. Really importantly to me, we're close to infrastructure. We've got a highway running. You can see it in the satellite image there. The metallurgy is the simplest I've ever seen. We published our metallurgical results in a press release about a month ago. I think they averaged over 98% recovery. Environmentally very clean. There's not a sulfide on site. Resources have been growing rapidly. The IRR on the PEA was exceptional. We went through an audit or due diligence from Royal Gold before they invested. They put a lot of money in to move this forward, and we've got a high quality pre-feasibility study coming out early next year. On top of that really solid base, you know, we've got a lot of exploration to do, and a lot of exploration which effectively starts now. Our geologists are on the ground today. Drill rigs are arriving in a week or so, and we'll be having constant results from the shallow or near surface conglomerate horizons and the deeper remobilized horizons. So we sort of feel like we've got some really good reality, which is going to have an engineering report with engineers' signatures in blood on the end of it. On top of that, we'll have the exploration going, which, you know, there's low risk exploration and we've got high risk, high return exploration. So we've got a little bit across the whole spectrum here. And right now we're very excited by it. So stay tuned. It should be exciting.